Hey all, welcome to Homeschool. Hope everybody are doing good. And I am back with chemical bonding chapter. I am with the concept valence bond theory today. One of the very important theories of chemical bonding chapter. Fine. So far we spoke about octet rule, which we studied under Queschel-Lewis theory. Octet rule mainly told us why atoms have to combine and why atoms have to combine. And according to octet rule, it is said that having 8 electrons in the valence shell is most stable. So every atom wanted to have that 8 electron concept, and so it combines with some other atoms to form molecules, right? And later we spoke about ionic bond formation, covalent bond formation, then to explain about the shapes of molecule, we took the help of VSEPR theory, right? So VSEPR theory was my previous video whose link is provided in the description. You can go and check it out if you have not yet watched. And coming to today's concept, I am with valence bond theory. This theory mainly explains about how actually covalent bond is formed. We have already studied the formation of covalent bond by writing dot structures. The main purpose of writing dot structures was to show how sharing of electrons takes place, right? But we are with the detailed aspect of sharing of electrons. How exactly sharing happens when two atoms come closer to each other, what is actually happening between the two atoms, right? And all that we will try to understand in this particular theory. Okay, fine. So let me start with one simple example. Suppose I have 2 hydrogen atoms. So this is hydrogen atom A and this is hydrogen atom B, right? And this is nucleus of A atom and this is nucleus of B atom. And we all very well know that there is an electron. Here also you will observe an electron. Let me call this electron as EA and this electron as EB, indicating that this is the electron belong to A hydrogen atom and this is the electron belong to B hydrogen atom. Okay. So when they try to come closer with each other, you will observe 2 forces existing between these atoms. One was attractive force. So one type of a force is attractive force. And the other type of a force that you can observe is repulsive force. So you will observe both attractive forces and repulsive forces. So what may be these attractive forces? If you take this atom, there is naturally an attraction between nucleus of atom A and electron of atom A, right? So this is the natural attractive force that is there within an atom. And similarly, even in this B hydrogen atom, you have an attractive force. You have an attraction between nucleus of B and electron of B. And apart from these attractions, you also have attraction between nucleus of A and electron of B, right? So when they come closer to each other, the nucleus of this fellow gets attracted towards, electron of this fellow, right? And similarly, nucleus of the second fellow is in attraction with the electron of first guy, right? So what is that? Na-Eb attraction you will find, and Nb-Ea attraction also you will observe. So these are the 2 attractive forces you observe when atoms come closer to each other. Similarly, you will also observe certain repulsive forces. So when they come closer to each other, it's like nucleus of this atom and nucleus of this atom is close, and definitely positive charges repel each other. So repulsive forces you will observe between Na and Nb. And also you observe a repulsive forces between electron of this fellow and electron of this fellow. So repulsive forces between EA and EB, right? So these are the kind of attractions you observe, and these are the kind of repulsions you observe when two atoms come close to each other. Fine. And usually, experimentally, it was proved that these attractive forces, let me call these attractive forces as the new attractive force, and these attractive forces are old. It's not that they have formed when atoms come close to each other. They are naturally there within the atom, right? So naturally there is an attractive force between NaEA, NbEb. So these old attractive forces are very, very common. And whenever this new attractive forces dominate, okay, then bonding takes place between these two hydrogen atoms. And it was experimentally proved that the new attractive forces become dominative over repulsive forces. Okay, so whenever these new attractive forces become dominative, then energy decreases. H2 molecule is formed. H2 molecule is formed. Stable H2 molecule is formed because the energy is released. So the overall potential energy of H2 gets decreased. So stable H2 molecule is formed. Right? So whenever an attractive forces dominate, which attractive forces? Attractive forces between NaEb and NbEa. These forces when dominate, overall energy decreases. So at this point of time, sharing of electrons takes place. So that leads to a formation of H2 molecule which is stable. Right? So this is normally sharing of electrons takes place. Okay, so we are very much clear that when they come closer to each other, these attractive forces dominate and stable H2 molecule is formed. Actually speaking, when they come closer to each other, sharing takes place by partial overlapping of orbitals. So I am telling you an important sentence here. When two atoms come close to each other, sharing of electrons takes place, very, very important word, by partial overlapping of orbitals, right? So what do you mean by partial overlapping of orbitals? You know what? This particular electron is present in s orbital of hydrogen atom. Even this electron is present in s orbital of hydrogen atom, right? If this is s orbital of one hydrogen atom where electron is there, this is another s orbital of hydrogen atom, single electron is there. So when atoms come closer to each other, these orbitals also come close and they overlap partially. Okay, if this is one orbital, this is another orbital. So see, holding one electron, this is another electron. So when they partially overlap with each other, sharing of these two electrons takes place between them. So they should not overlap completely. This is called complete overlapping. This is called partial overlapping. This is complete overlapping. This is partial overlapping. Only when they overlap partially, these two electrons can be shared between them. So that is how sharing actually takes place. So sharing takes place between two atoms when atomic orbitals containing electrons must overlap partially. Okay, so that's why I have written sharing of electrons takes place by partial overlapping of orbitals. Okay, so only then sharing can take place and a strong covalent bond can be formed. Right? So this point is very, very important. Now let us learn what are the conditions required for overlapping of orbitals. Atomic orbitals do not overlap on all conditions. There are certain rules for these atomic orbitals to overlap. Okay, so let us study the different conditions at which atomic orbitals overlap. So coming to the condition, observe the points that I write on a board, very, very important. Overlapping atomic orbitals overlapping atomic orbitals, AO in the sense atomic orbitals, must have same direction or orientation. Say orientation or direction of orbital must match. Okay. And also second point, overlapping atomic orbitals must have single electron with opposite spin. This is very, very important, guys. Single electron with opposite spin. Okay. And third point, overlapping atomic orbitals must have same sign. Sign in the sense you should observe same phase. Okay. So we must have learned in atomic structure, right? In phase and out phase. So here overlapping orbitals will have some sign. So sign must be same between the orbitals. Only then they can overlap with each other. Okay. So these are the three most important conditions for overlapping of orbitals. Overlapping orbitals must have same orientation and they should have single electron with opposite side and they should have same sign. Okay. So based on the conditions, we have three types of overlapping. Okay. One was positive overlapping. We have positive overlapping. Okay. And we have, I'll show all the positive overlappings here. We have negative overlappings. And we also have zero overlapping. So let us understand what do you mean by positive overlapping, negative overlapping and zero overlapping. Definitely positive overlapping leads to the formation of covalent bond. Formation of covalent bond. So if the atomic orbitals involve in positive overlapping, that leads to the sharing of electrons. In other words, I can call it as formation of covalent bond. Okay. So observe, what do you mean by positive overlapping? See here, this is our s orbital, right? Having a plus sign with one electron. This is another s overlap with one electron. See, this electron is in opposite spin and which also have a plus sign. So such a overlapping is called positive overlapping. Okay. So they can overlap like this and shared pair of electrons are present in this area. So plus sign, plus sign. So this is plus is the sign for this orbital. When this has a plus sign, the other orbital that is trying to combine with this must also have a plus sign but with opposite spin. You see, two atomic orbitals which are ready to combine, they have single electrons, unpaired electrons with opposite spin and they have same sign. So this overlap is called S-S overlap. This is called S-S overlap. Okay, and this is one of the positive overlapping and this can lead to the formation of covalent bond or this can lead to a sharing of electrons. Okay, so this is one situation where we can show positive overlapping. And now, if p orbitals are overlapping, we know we have three, orientations for p orbital. We call this as pz orbital, this as px orbital, and this as py orbital. Right? So px orbital is having an orientation along z axis, like along horizontal axis. Okay. So this is pz orbital and this is another pz orbital. Okay. If they have to overlap with each other, they should have single electrons with opposite spin and same sign having lobes must overlap. See, plus lobe, minus lobe and minus lobe. Okay, so plus lobe overlaps with the plus lobe with opposite spinned electrons. So how do you show the overlap here? So this orbital overlaps with this orbital. So this is pz overlap we say. Okay, so shared pair of electrons are present in this region. Okay, so this is the shared pair of electrons present in the overlapped area, right? So this is called end-to-end overlapping. Okay, so end-to-end overlapping or axial overlapping we say. So this is called end-to-end or axial overlapping. Okay, so this is another positive type of overlapping. So plus plus, minus minus, right? And another positive overlapping is, if this is a py orbital, okay, where it has one electron, this is plus lobe and minus lobe, and it can overlap with another py of same type. It should have plus lobe and minus lobe and the single electron with opposite spin. Okay, so this can overlap something like this. Okay, so this type of overlap, this is the shared pair of electrons are present in this overlapped area. So plus plus, minus minus. So this is called, py overlap. Okay, so this is side to side, sideway overlapping. This type of overlap is called sideway overlapping. Sideway overlapping. Okay, so hope you are clear with the positive overlapping. Positive overlapping only leads to the sharing of electrons and forming a covalent bond between the atoms. Okay, so to observe a positive overlapping, two atomic orbitals must have single electron with opposite spin and they should have same sign. Okay, and their orientation must match. See, pz orbital can never overlap with py. Okay, so all these are positive overlapping. And there is another type of positive overlapping, guys. So let me show it here. So another positive overlapping is there, that is s orbital can overlap with pz orbital. So this is s orbital with positive sign and single electron. This is pz orbital, this lobe is positive, this lobe is minus. Okay, and you have single electron with opposite spin. How do you show this overlap? This is also a type of, this is a shared area where shared electrons are there, and this is positive, minus. So this we will call it as sp overlap. Sp overlap. Okay, so this is also, positive overlapping. Even that was a positive overlapping. So all these are different positive overlappings. Right? Okay. So this type of overlap, S overlap, PZ overlap, SP overlap, they are all end-to-end, axial overlapping. Okay. Overlapping on a same axis. Okay. So that is actually a strong overlapping that leads to the formation of sigma bond. We have two types of covalent bonds actually. One is a sigma bond, the other one is a pi bond. Okay, so sigma bond is always formed by, end-to-end overlapping. So this is end-to-end overlapping. This is an example for axial overlapping or end-to-end. This is also an example for axial or end-to-end. But this is called sideway overlapping. Sideway overlapping is always very, very weak. Okay, so that leads to a formation of pi bond actually. So all these are, positive overlapping. So if these overlappings occur, definitely there is a formation of covalent bond, strong covalent bond. Okay, fine. And now let us come to negative overlapping situations. In case, you see, this is s orbital with positive sign, single electron. And if this is overlapping with another s orbital with negative sign. Okay, so here this s orbital has a positive sign, this s orbital has a negative sign. Then in that case, that leads to negative overlapping, plus minus, this overlap is negative. This doesn't lead to the formation of covalent bond. Okay, so negative overlapping if occurs, you don't observe any bonding. So there is no covalent bonding takes place for negative overlap. Okay, and even see, this is a pz orbital, this is a pz orbital. So if this is a positive lobe and if this is a negative lobe with single electron, then also this kind of overlap is called negative overlap. Okay, and similarly py, okay, if this is a positive lobe, this is a minus lobe, positive lobe, minus lobe. Even if they have a single electron with opposite spin, that doesn't lead to the formation of covalent bond. So if the sign is opposite between the overlapping orbitals, orientation may match. Atomic orbitals, combining atomic orbitals must have same orientation. It must have been same orientation, but the sign is not same. Sign is opposite. So such overlaps do not lead to the formation of covalent bonding. They are called negative overlap. Okay, and coming to zero overlapping. So zero overlappings are actually very, very impossible. Such overlaps do not occur. Okay, so there is no sense in such overlaps. For example, if the orientations are different, say you never expect an overlap between py or px with s orbital. Okay, so this overlap, the overlap between py or px with s orbital, so such overlap do not takes place. Always s orbital can overlap with pz. Okay, orientation must be in this horizontal axis, but here py and s orbitals do not overlap, so that is a zero overlap. It is a impossible overlap. Okay, fine. And you cannot expect an overlap between py and pz. See, here also orientation is very different. Both are p orbitals, no doubt, but py orientation is this and pz orientation is horizontal. If the orientation is different among the p orbitals, they do not overlap. So such a overlap is zero overlapping. So these are the two conditions for zero overlapping which do not take place only. And these are the conditions of negative overlapping. They do take place, but that overlap is actually waste. It doesn't lead to the formation of covalent bond. So to observe a better sharing of electrons between the two atoms, the combining atomic orbitals must overlap, matching their orientation, and they should have same sign with opposite spin electrons. Okay, so only then it leads to a formation of covalent bond. Right? So now let us observe in what situations sigma bond formation takes place and in what situations pi bond formation takes place. See guys, we all know that there are two types of covalent bond. One is a sigma bond, the other one is a pi bond. So these are actually two types of which bonds? Covalent bonds. So let us observe actually in which situation sigma bond formation takes place and pi bond formation takes place. See, when you have s orbital with same phase with opposite spin electrons, this we will call it as SS overlap, isn't it? So this SS overlap leads to the formation of sigma bond. Okay, so this SS overlap leads to the formation of sigma bond. And even this overlapping, you have pz orbital with positive lobe. Okay, let me take positive lobe, negative lobe, one electron, and another pz orbital, positive lobe, negative lobe, and a single electron with opposite spin. This, how do you show the overlapping? End to end overlapping, right? Here electrons are shared, positive, positive, negative lobe, negative lobe. So even this pz overlap also leads to the formation of sigma bond. And there is another situation like s orbital, okay, and p orbital, pz orbital, that too pz orbital. Okay, so this overlap also leads to the formation of sigma bond. So these are the three situations where sigma bond formation takes place, and such overlap is called axial overlapping, or end to end overlapping always leads to the formation of sigma bond. Okay, so axial overlapping is always stronger overlapping. Okay, so stronger covalent bond is formed. This is stronger covalent bond and this is weaker covalent bond. Okay, so always whenever accidents takes place, direct hitting, head-on head hitting accidents are more powerful, right? So they are the dangerous accidents. So just like that, head-on head hitting of orbitals, axial overlapping is always the strongest overlap, and that leads to the formation of strong covalent bond, which we call it as sigma bond. Okay, now the situations of pi bond. Say when you have py orbitals, okay, with positive lobe, single electron, these orbitals will overlap like this. This is called sideway overlapping, and this leads to the formation of pi bond. Okay, so sideway overlapping is always very weak. Head-on head overlapping is always strong. So this is a strong overlap, but this is a weak overlap. Okay, so even px also leads to the formation of pi bond. Okay, so both situations end up in forming weaker covalent bond, that is pi bond, and these are the different overlaps that lead to the formation of sigma bond. Okay, sigma bonds are always stronger than pi bond. So guys, that's all about valence bond theory. That explains majorly about how actually atomic orbitals combine to form covalent bond. Okay, fine. So now, little extension of valence bond theory is a concept of hybridization. Okay, so let us learn about hybridization. So many of them have so many doubts, so many confusions, regarding this topic, hybridization, but it is actually very, very simple, and definitely this is the hypothetical concept. This is the imaginary concept. So scientists have imagined that maybe stable molecules are formed is because of this hybridization. So it is an imaginary concept, I'm telling you again. So let us understand what exactly we mean by hybridization. Okay, so the main purpose of learning hybridization is to form, how actually the forming of stable molecule takes place with a particular shape. Okay, so I can say the main purpose is to decide the shape or geometry of a molecule. So with the help of hybridization concept, you can to some extent decide the shape of a molecule. Clear? So let us understand what actually we mean by hybridization. So it is very simple, guys. If I have to give its definition, it is nothing but intermixing of atomic orbitals which have slightly different energies, Okay, so why they have to intermix with each other? It is to redistribute. Okay, so they initially have different energies. So these atomic orbitals intermix so that they share their energies equally. They redistribute their energies. Okay, to form new hybrid orbitals. Okay, so it is this new hybrid orbitals that lead to the formation of bonding. formation of bonding. Okay, so the new hybrid orbitals that you get have equal energy, they have equal shape, you know, they have different orientation, but because they are arranged in different orientation, it led to a particular shape for a molecule. So all that you will understand with one particular example, guys. So just as of now, think that hybridization is nothing but intermixing of atomic orbitals. So why they have to intermix? Because they have different energy. So when they intermix, what happened? They equally share their energy. The one which is having higher energy gives its energy to orbital which has got lower energy. So they redistribute their energies and they will become rejuvenated orbitals. Okay, so they become a new rejuvenated orbitals ready for overlapping, ready for bonding. Okay, so such rejuvenated new orbitals are called with the name hybrid orbitals. Usually these hybrid orbitals have same energy, okay, and they have same shape. Okay, so let us try to understand this hybridization with different examples. We have different types of hybridization actually. We have like sp hybridization, sp2 hybridization, sp3 hybridization, sp3 dehybridization, and sp3 d2 hybridization. So let us understand each and every one in a detailed way, so that in the process you will actually understand why this hybridization and what actually this hybridization. And I'll be telling you in between, I'll be telling you what are the conditions that you need to follow during hybridization and everything. So let us understand what actually we mean by sp hybridization, how it is formed with an example. Guys, for sp hybridization, I will take the example as beryllium chloride. I am actually showing you how this beryllium chloride is formed. Okay, so what is the main purpose of hybridization here? Fine. So here the central atom, the main element is beryllium. So we all know its electronic configuration 1s2, you know, beryllium's atomic number is 4, electronic configuration 1s2 and 2s2, right? So if I have to write orbital diagram, I can write it as S means 1 box, right? So 2 electrons are there. So this is 2s orbital. So I don't want inner electrons, I just want outer valence shell and electrons of valence shell, because they only participate in bond formation. Valence orbitals only can overlap to form a covalent bonding, right? So valence shell has only one orbital which is filled up completely here, that is 2s orbital. Okay, but you observe here beryllium has 2 side atoms. That means beryllium has to form 2 bonds, you know, around it with Cl. That means 2 orbitals of beryllium must overlap with 2 Cl atoms orbitals. Yes or no? Beryllium must be able to provide 2 orbitals with single electron, because we have seen in the VBT, if an orbital overlap, only covalent bond is formed, right? And that too, that overlapping orbital must have single electron. So beryllium must have 2 orbitals with single electron. Only then they can overlap with 2 Cl atoms and form 2 covalent bonds between beryllium and Cls, right? But you see the valence shell, it has got only 1 orbital, that too it is completely filled. So does it has ability to overlap with the orbitals of Cl? No, right? Orbitals must have single electron with opposite spin, and that too beryllium must provide 2 orbitals. You can't use inner shell, you can only use valence shell. Okay, always remember, for bonding you can only use valence shell. So what happens in the second shell? S orbital is filled, but there are 3 p orbitals, isn't it? Px is there, py is there, and pz is there. They are empty. They are empty with no electrons. Okay, so we will use one of the p orbital here, but that p orbital must have an electron, right? So what happens? Promotion of electron takes place from s orbital to px orbital. Okay, so electron is promoted. So now I will write another, changed electronic configuration. Now I will call it as excited electronic configuration. Beryllium undergoes excitation. Why? Because Cl atoms are coming near to make a bonding. So this fellow must provide two orbitals with single electron. It is not there. So promotion of electron takes place to empty p orbital. This process is called excitation. This is what we mean by excitation. Okay. So now you have 2s orbital with single electron and px orbital, py and pz. So px orbital with single electron. So now it is like two orbitals are ready with single electrons to overlap with two orbitals of Cl atoms that are coming for making a bond. Right? Okay. And now you observe one thing. S orbital's energy is different. Px orbital's energy is different. But if both of them have to overlap at the same time with two Cl atoms, they must have same energy. So what happens? Mixing of these two orbitals takes place. I want only two. Two is enough with single electrons. So only these two orbitals will mix. So two orbitals, which are the two orbitals mixing? S orbital is mixing with p orbital. Okay, one s orbital is mixing with one p orbital. So this intermixing of s orbital and one p orbital is called sp hybridization. Okay, so in sp hybridization, one s orbital and one p orbital is getting mixed. So on mixing in the sense what? They are actually redistributing their energy. They are sharing their energies equally. Okay, so they are becoming new extra rejuvenated orbitals. Okay, if two orbitals are mixing, two new orbitals are formed. So these orbitals are called hybrid orbitals. So they are called as sp hybrid orbitals. Okay, so this is one sp hybrid orbital. This is another sp hybrid orbital. Okay, so this orbital has single electron and another sp hybrid orbital also has a single electron. So this is how two new orbitals are formed. So remember guys, the number of atomic orbitals intermixed is always equal to number of hybrid orbitals formed. So this is one of the feature of hybridization. Okay, so now beryllium has got two new rejuvenated orbitals with single electron ready to overlap with the orbitals of Cl. But if two orbitals are there, they have a different shape, they have a different orientation, and they get these two. Usually this is the way of representing hybrid orbital. So this is one sp hybrid orbital. Imagine here is a beryllium and it is holding another sp hybrid orbital in this fashion. Both of them should stay as far as possible to avoid the repulsion. Okay, so if they are very much near like this, this carries an electron, this also carries an electron. So you would observe a repulsion between them. To avoid the repulsion, they must be placed in different directions in a space. Actually, this is giving a shape or geometry for a molecule. Okay, so beryllium is holding one hybrid orbital here, the other hybrid orbital exactly opposite, so that they can stay far away from each other. So now Cl atom. In Cl atom, the last electron is there in p orbital, isn't it? So this is the p orbital of Cl holding an electron with opposite spin. Okay, and this is overlapping with this. And this is another Cl orbital, holding a single electron overlaps. So this is how, this is how overlapping takes place, and this overlap leads to a bond with Cl, and this overlap leads to another bond with another Cl. Okay, so this is how beryllium chloride is there. And what is this shape called as? Linear shape, and the bond angle is 180 degree. Okay, see the way the hybrid orbitals are oriented around central atom okay, gives a particular shape for a molecule. Okay, so the hybrid orbitals are oriented exactly opposite to each other, so that Cl's orbital came and overlapped, and another Cl's orbital came and overlapped. So bonding formed, and you get a linear beryllium chloride molecule. So we say if any molecule undergoes sp hybridization, then the shape is always linear. Okay, so remember guys, if any molecule undergoes sp hybridization, let me write it here. If it undergoes sp hybridization, then the shape is always linear. That means sp in the sense, how many hybrid orbitals are there? 2. If 2 hybrid orbitals are there around central atom, only way of arrangement is opposite. You should hold them opposite to each other. Only then they can stay far away with each other to avoid the repulsion. Okay, so this is how we have to do hybridization process. Now let us learn about sp2 hybridization. Okay, for sp2 hybridization, I take the example as BF3. So let us understand the formation of BF3. So B is the central atom. Okay, so its electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2 and 2p1. So let me put orbital diagram here. I'll consider only valence shell. So valence shell has one s orbital. This is 2s orbital with 2 electrons, and you have 3 p orbitals, px, py and pz. So p orbitals have one, no? That means px has 1 electron. Okay. So how many orbitals this boron must provide to overlap with 3 f orbitals? 3, right? Boron must provide 3 orbitals with single electrons having equal energy. Only then overlapping with f orbitals is possible, right? So does it provide 3 orbitals with single electron? No, right? It has got only 1 orbital with single electron. This is completely filled and these 2 are empty. So what happens here is one of the electron from 2s promoted to py, so that you will get 1 electron in 2s, and in px orbital 1 electron, and in py orbital 1 electron, and this is empty. So now actually the 3 orbitals are there with single electron. This is the necessary condition to overlap with 3f atoms, isn't it? So, but their energies are different. So to make their energies equal, they intermix with each other just to redistribute their energy, just to become rejuvenated. If 3 orbitals get mixed up, what are the 3 orbitals getting mixed up? 1 s orbital and 2 p orbitals. So that is the reason we call this intermixing as sp2 hybridization. sp2 hybridization. Okay, so we are getting how many new hybrid orbitals? We are getting 3 new hybrid. If 3 orbitals are intermixing, 3 new orbitals you will get with single electron. So they are called with the name sp2 hybrid orbitals. sp2 hybrid orbitals. Okay, so now these hybrid orbitals around boron, they should get arranged in different direction, so that they should stay as far as possible to avoid the repulsion. So in what direction they get arranged? In the form of triangle, right? So this is the only way all the 3 can get arranged, so that you can observe minimum repulsion. So this is one sp2 hybrid orbital with single electron. This is another sp2 hybrid orbital. This is third sp2 hybrid orbital with single electron. Now, one fluorine comes and overlaps here. The other fluorine orbital comes and overlaps here. The third fluorine's orbital comes and overlaps here. Okay, carrying single electron. So that's how sharing takes place. So you will observe the formation of one covalent bond with one fluorine, second covalent bond with second fluorine, third covalent bond with third fluorine. So this bond angle will be 120 degree and the shape is called trigonal planar. So if anything undergoes sp2 hybridization, then the shape is always trigonal planar. Okay, so hope now the concept of hybridization has become clear. So how many orbitals they undergo hybridization always depends on how many side atoms you have. You just have to see here originally. So boron want 3 orbitals to overlap with 3 fluorines. Does it has 3 orbitals with single electron? No, right? You have to check only the valence orbitals. No, one more is needed. So promotion of electrons takes place. So now you had got 3 orbitals ready for overlapping, but they are not 100% ready because their energies are different. So to make their energies equalize and to have a same shape, they intermix with each other. So they become rejuvenated. The number of atomic orbitals intermix is always equal to the number of hybrid orbitals that you get. So 3 new sp2 hybrid orbitals you got with single electron, and the 3 orbitals are directed in the shape of trigonal planar way, and overlapping with f orbitals took place that led to the formation of BF3 molecule. Okay, so every time in whichever molecule that undergoes sp2 hybridization, it will always have a shape trigonal planar. Trigonal planar. Okay, so this is how you have different types of hybridization. See, if one s orbital and 3 p orbitals intermix, then we call it as sp3 hybridization. That means how many hybrid orbitals are there here? 4. So if 4 hybrid orbitals are there, you know, they orient themselves in the shape of tetrahedron. So whichever molecule that has got sp3 hybridization, then the shape of that molecule is tetrahedral. The best example is CH4. Now you can try the hybridization of CH3 yourself. Okay, so this can be a homework for you. Like that, you can try for sp3d. You know, PCl5. You know, phosphorus is the central atom. This must able to provide 5 orbitals with single electron. So, you know, 1 s orbital, 3 p orbitals and 1 d orbitals intermix, and you get 5 new orbitals with single electron. Whenever 5 orbitals are there, you know, what way they get arranged? Trigonal bipyramidal. Okay, so this is how the 5 hybrid orbitals gets arranged. So whichever the molecule that has underwent sp3 hybridization, then they will have what shape? Trigonal bipyramidal. Okay. Likewise, you have another type of hybridization, sp3d2. That means you will observe the combination of 1 s orbital, 3 p orbitals and 2 d orbitals for intermixing. So altogether 6 hybrid orbitals you will get. I mean, if you have to make a molecule like SF6, okay, S has to provide 6 orbitals, right? So these are the 6 hybrid orbitals it will provide to combine with 6 fluorine atoms. So in that case, they get arranged in the shape of octahedron. So the shape of molecule that has sp3d2 hybridization is octahedral. Okay, like this shape of a molecule depends on what hybridization that the molecule has underwent. Right? So hope the concept of hybridization has become clear. And in my next video, I will teach you a beautiful trick to find the hybridization. See, questions will be asked like this. You have ammonia molecule. What is the hybridization involved here? sp, sp2 or sp3? You have to select the correct answer. So you have water molecule. What is the hybridization involved? You have ICl2 plus. What is the hybridization involved? You have SO4 minus 2 ion. What is the hybridization of sulfur here? So hybridization is always with respect to the central atom, because it is the central atom's orbitals that intermix with each other to make their energies equalize. Okay. So when these molecules are given, how to find that what hybridization the atom is undergoing? No, every time you can't do this workout. Okay, it's not necessary to do this workout, thinking how many orbitals necessary, then thinking about promotion of electron. All that is not necessary. Actually, we have a simple, beautiful trick to find the hybridization. So wait for my next video. So in my next video, I'll be teaching you about trick for hybridization. So don't miss it out. Do subscribe our channel to learn the concepts in the easiest way. Thank you so much, guys. Meet you all in the next class.